Welcome to FBB Forum. I'm very pleased to welcome the stunning IFBB Pro women's physique competitor, Sarena Berish. Now, is that the right way to pronounce your name?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I want to make sure.
Mhm.
Sarena has been competing in bodybuilding since 2013, and she got her pro card in 2019 at the North Americans. And her most recent contest was the Pittsburgh Pro. And she'll also be competing coming up in July, right, for the Lenda Murray Atlanta Pro.
Mhm.
And I'm very super stoked to welcome you here. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Now, my first few questions are about how you got started in bodybuilding. And I was curious if you had an athletic or sports background before you started.
So I did when I was very young. I played soccer for a bunch of years. I actually ran cross country, and I always had an interest in lifting. I actually remember like all through high school. Actually, I stopped sports through high school, and I'm a bandy. I was a band nerd. I played drums my entire life, so that's what I did. But I actually remember like going to my gym teachers and asking them for a lifting plan or to show me how to do stuff. But it was always, oh, we don't have time. Yeah, we'll get to it. And they always kind of brushed me off.
Uh-huh.
So I never really got to, experience that at all. There was a strength and conditioning class in my high school that I wanted to take so bad, but I had to take AP music theory instead. I had to take composition. Like I said, everything in my life music beforehand. So it
Sure.
was senior year of college that I met someone who was in prep for I think it was his first show, if I remember correctly. And I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world. So I befriended him. We ended up dating for a little bit, but he showed me everything about bodybuilding. And I just absolutely fell in love with the sport. And 10 years later, here I am, and the rest is history.
That's terrific. That's so cool. Yeah. Now, your friend who convinced you to kind of do your first contest, was he the only one who had convinced you, or did you have other folks that kind of encouraged you to compete?
I mean, it didn't really take much convincing. I thought it was just amazing, and I dove right in. I actually remember like all growing up, my uncle actually always I was always stronger for a girl, like just my genetics, my family. I come from a line of very strong women. So
Mhm.
my uncle always said that he thought I was a power lifter. And that I should always think about lifting. So then when I told him I was getting into bodybuilding, he was just like, "Yep, I knew it. See, you were going to do something in the weightlifting sport." So
Oh,
um,
wow.
my family, I come from a very musical family. Like I have a twin sister who plays trumpet. I played piano since age 5, drums since age 9. My degree, I actually have a double bachelor's in art and music. So that
Wow.
was beforehand. So pretty much anybody that I grew up with, I mean, everybody was just kind of shocked to see, especially what I am now compared to, who I was growing up. So there's
Huh.
definitely changed, but I've had honestly nothing but support from my family and my friends ever since I started. I'm very, very lucky for that.
That's terrific. Do you still perform music at all, or you probably don't have time, do you?
I don't get, yeah, I really don't have time, which really makes me sad. But I actually I have a few friends. A friend of mine wants to start a band, so I think we're gonna start jamming a little bit. I have like my drum pad and my sticks. I still like to, because drums was my thing. I really didn't like piano very much, so I definitely still like play around a little bit, but sadly haven't performed for quite some time.
I just had this weird vision of like with weighted sticks, like doing the drum. So you get the arm workout at the same time. See?
Pretty much, I think that's why my arms have actually been kind of like ahead of everything else in my body.
Uh-huh.
Um, Legs, I'm trying to build to catch up to my arms, and I think that's why, just from playing drums for so long, just
Yeah.
always been stronger in the upper body.
Wow, that's really cool. That's awesome. That's so cool that you did music like that. Actually, I'm a volunteer radio DJ at a station here in Tampa, and it's an R&B show called The Soul Kitchen. But I love music, and I don't perform it, but I do love it as an enthusiast. So yeah,
Very cool.
yeah. Um, Now I was curious when you first started, did you do figure or which division did you do?
I did start with figure for my first year, because I did my first show after about 8 months of lifting.
Mhm.
So very, very little. I think for my first show, I was like 110 pounds, whereas right now I'm sitting about 145. So
Wow.
obviously, I always knew I wanted to do physique though. But my
Mhm.
first, it's like, okay, I'm going to be realistic. I'm going to just do figure. But then my second year, I did figure and physique. third year was the last year that I competed in figure. That was the first time I won my first overall as figure, went to North Americans as figure, and then after that, dropped the heels and just went straight physique.
That's great. Did you like because I think, physique allows for more creativity with your routine and more flexibility. Figure is just so regimented and rigid in some ways.
Yeah, that's where in physique, especially my performer came out. Obviously with music, I grew up performing, but I was always performing, something someone else wrote. I was always performing someone else's music. So with physique, I write my own routines, and I do, I get help from some people posing, like Brooke Walker, a little shout out, who's absolutely incredible. Sure, you
Yeah.
are very well aware of Brooke Walker. But I always write my own routines, and I love to write routines for other people. So I feel like, especially in my life, coming from music, that like bodybuilding has been my true way of expression. So that's where I felt like I can truly express myself. Whereas music, I was always, expressing kind of what other people did. So that's physique, I really took to it because I make my routines very personal, and I go along with the music, and even she's like, I don't usually like the artsy ones, but the way that you combine everything, it's just like I felt something through it, and I'm like, that's exactly what I go for. So that's why I just fell in love with physique immediately.
That's so cool. You could actually like write and perform the music for your routine. That would be kind of cool.
This is true. It's just, oh, my brain can handle all that in prep.
That would be tough. Yeah, you'd probably have to do that separately from prep. Yeah. Oh man. Now, did you have a fitness role model when you first started competing?
Probably like most girls, Dana Lynn Bailey. She was the
Hmm.
first that I saw, because 2013 was the first year women's physique was in the Olympia. So that
Hmm.
was the first year that it was, I believe that was the first year it competed regionally, at least in my area. So of course, like most people, I saw her and fell in love with her. She actually grew up in the same town my mom did, not far from where I grew up in Pennsylvania.
Hmm.
So in seeing her, it was very like attainable. It was one of
Hmm.
those, wow, like she's from right over here. Like that's something like I can do that. Like I know, like I have to put the time in. It's not going to be easy, but I know I can do that. So I just, really took to her, and I don't fangirl very often, but kind of fangirled over her a bit. And there was a handful of others that sadly aren't in the sport anymore with just how much it's, developed over time. But she was definitely my first role model in the sport.
That's terrific. Yeah, she's really amazing. And yeah, she comes up a lot on this podcast as an inspiration, I think, too. Yeah. Now, I was curious when you first got up on stage in a bikini, was it kind of nerve-wracking for you, or did you get nervous?
Honestly, not really. I, growing up performing, like if I remember correctly, I did my first musical at like age 4. Like I literally grew up on stage. Um,
Wow.
so even before that, I've always, my Instagram is HippieMuscles. I've always been a hippie, so I've always, enjoyed, like I always wear, little shorts and little shirts, and wear bikinis, and no shoes everywhere I go. So it really wasn't. It was more of the like anxious of just not exactly knowing what to expect in the first show.
Sure.
But really, I've never been uncomfortable in that setting, never been uncomfortable with, my suit on or even the heels. At
Hmm.
that, I, can rock a pair of heels when I want to, but it just was very natural to me from the beginning.
Oh, yeah. But I think being hippie, though, makes sense to do physique because you do barefoot that way. So, yeah.
I mean, you don't have to remember shoes. All I have to remember is my suit. Is my little suit bag that has my jewelry in it and my number and all that, and I'm good. As long as I have that, I'm good to go.
Okay, cool. Very cool. That's awesome. Um, I was curious, what do your parents think about your fitness career, and are they supportive of your bodybuilding career?
They love it, actually. My mom absolutely loves it. My stepdad loves it too. He kind of teases me. Well, he's honestly teased me as long as I can remember for being stronger. My sister actually used to call me man arms since we were like 5 years old, my identical twin sister.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
None of weren't really surprised when I came back and said that I was going to do it, because I was actually a vegetarian for 5 years, like all through college before I started. So I had already had that discipline in not allowing myself to have things that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my mom, she absolutely loves it. She shows my pictures all around everywhere. she loves to brag because my sister is a lawyer actually, so she loves to be like, oh, I got one who's pro bodybuilder and one who's a lawyer. So my
Wow.
loves it, and I think she'll actually be at the Atlanta show. They come to as many shows as they can. You know, some are just hard to get to, but they're definitely very, very supportive.
That's terrific. Yeah, Atlanta has a good airport. At least it's easier to get there for sure. That's kind of funny with a twin sister though, because y'all couldn't like switch places since you got probably a lot more muscle, maybe.
Yeah, she's not at all, but I'm hoping maybe someday, maybe I can get her someday.
That's awesome. That's really cool though. Now I was curious, do you have any kids?
No,
No?
no kids,
Okay.
not married, totally single. My focus this last decade has purely been on bodybuilding. You know, I kind of let the societal norms kind of go off to the side in pursuit of, you know, my dreams and my goals, and I'm you know, but very much single and happy with it.
That's awesome. Very cool. That's awesome. Um, and I was curious, you had mentioned working in the legal field as like a legal administrator, is that right?
Yep.
And do you find it hard to kind of juggle that work and life, home life and your bodybuilding career?
Honestly, it's actually been a blessing because I do work fully remote. I'm actually work with my sister. So we have our boss, Mary, who owns a law firm out in California. So I do work off Cali time, which is a little interesting. So I am 12 to 8, but it's wonderful. I can stay here at home. I can cook all of my meals as I need to. They're very understanding. You know, even yesterday I ran out of something. I had to run to Walmart. They're like, it's totally fine. Take your lunch break, run to Walmart, do what you got to do. My boss loves my bodybuilding. She loves to tell all of our clients about it. And I, you know, get to meet a lot of people, and people are very supportive through that as well. Cause you know, it's different, and we do
Yeah.
family. So we have a lot of, you know, tough cases. So it's kind of a little like comedic relief to be able to, you know, talk about it and kind of cheer people up a little bit and lift their spirits when, you know, we're dealing with some heavy stuff. So,
That's really cool. Does your sister work in California at
yeah.
the firm? Oh, that's so cool that you get to work with her though.
Yeah, that's just been such a blessing because she just how everything lined up was just so perfect. And you know, my boss lost her associate attorney and her assistant at the same time, and me and my sister had been talking about she does want to open her own firm someday and maybe her assistant. So just kind of work, she was like, hey, my sister wants to do assistant work, and you know, my boss was like, perfect, twins, come on board. So it
Wow.
I couldn't really be luckier with how everything played out.
That's really cool. It sounds like a TV show. I don't know. It's kind of interesting setup there, you know?
Kind of is it's I say, especially like this past year has been a movie in my life. It is just crazy, but I love it. I really do.
Yeah, Netflix. If Netflix is out there watching, you know, y'all need to talk about a reality show or something here, I think.
Oh, especially with I do spray tanning for a lot of the shows here in the mid-Atlantic region, and we've been talking for years about how we should be a reality show of the background bodybuilding shows. It's something.
You know, it's interesting because Netflix has a new documentary series about Arnold Schwarzenegger, and now they're doing a documentary unauthorized about American gladiators, and they have a few other bodybuilding documentaries there. So I don't know, maybe it could work.
I think I'm actually in the one for American Gladiator, the one where they came back for the past people that were doing it. Because actually, one
Yeah.
of those gentlemen, he competed at, I think it was Masters a year or two ago. And they had me sign a waiver and everything. And they came back to my tanning booth and they recorded me spraying him. And
Oh
I
yeah.
was part of that. So I never actually looked up to see where it was, but that I'm probably on Netflix spray tanning at this point.
That's so cool. That's awesome. Wow. No, I don't. I think it might not be out yet. I know the Arnold one is, but I definitely want to check them both out soon. So that I'll have to look out for you for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
I think he was the only one that was doing a bodybuilding show of the, you know, all of the contestants that were in it. So if you see that, yep, I'm the spray tanner.
that's so cool. That's awesome. The I would think spray tanning would be a little weird because you see everybody naked, and you know, I guess you get used to it, but
Yeah, you get used to it. I've been spraying for going on 8 years now. So
wow.
it's like with like nurses and people that are in, you know, just in the medical field, like you just learn to not, I mean, I don't know, nothing phases me. I like to say I've seen everything of everyone. I've sprayed everyone from first timers to Big Remy and Derek Lunsford, Hunter Labrada. They're all super, super nice guys. So I've
Cool.
sprayed so many people in the industry. That's how I've met pretty much all of my best friends, my last couple boyfriends. I mean, yeah, it's an interesting world, but I honestly love it. I don't think I'll ever stop tanning. It's just so much fun to help people get ready for the stage.
That's terrific. Yeah, make them look their best too. That's awesome. Yeah. And I know sometimes bad tanning is not so good. So if you got the expertise, that's important.
Yes, I've put a lot of work and research into how to perfect my craft. Helps having the art degree as well, so I can kind of carry some of those skills over and make them applicable. So it's been a nice way to bring some of my education into what I do.
That's really cool. That's awesome. My next few questions are about prep and coaching, and I was curious, what would you say is the toughest aspect of competition prep for you?
Honestly, I love prep. That's when I truly feel like I'm at my best. I love the structure. I really don't mind the dieting. I mean, the hunger can definitely get challenging, especially in the last couple weeks.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm not one I'm used to the discipline of not going out and eating things like that doesn't bother me. I'm not one to I've never really been a partier or anything like that, so I don't care about drinking or really anything like that. My favorite thing, like I love going to the gym, and then I live right down the street from the beach, so I walk down the beach, and like that's a perfect Friday night for me.
Right.
I mean, it definitely gets to be a challenge, especially trying to like push yourself on the stair stepper. Everybody hates cardio, so of
Hmm.
course in that hating cardio club as well. But just as a whole, I mean, I love prep. I find off season to be a bit harder to really stay on track with everything, but
Wow.
prep, I feel like I really shine and kind of get the most done in my life.
That's terrific. That I haven't encountered too many people that said that. So yeah, that's really cool though that you feel that way. And I just personally I think it would be just so challenging because it is so tough with the diet and it's so regimented too. But that's very cool. Now, is there a particular food item that you miss the most during prep?
So I have the worst sweet tooth ever.
Mm,
So pretty much any baked goods. I'm a baker myself, so I love to make like the huge brownies, the huge cookies. In terms of regular food, my favorite things in the world are crab cakes and coconut shrimp. That is
mm,
not like a burger fan. I don't eat the normal things that people do.
hmm.
Um, Pretty much those are really the only things that I kind of crave in this time, but
Yeah.
little ways to make it easier and on myself. And yeah,
Yeah, you probably can't have fried stuff when you're prepping. No.
Steph and my coach Derek, we really don't do cheat meals. He likes to do high days instead. So instead of going out for a burger, it'll just be like today is my high carb day since I have back day. So I've just had more carbs all throughout the day, which I prefer rather than just going out and getting a big cheat meal. Which I mean, of course, would be nice, but then you have the tendency to go overboard. Which I'll admit I can be one of those people that if he gives me a free meal, I'll, get the burger, whatever he says to get, but then I'll go and get a whole pack of cookies or something like that. So, so
Oh,
I, even 10 years in, we all struggle with those things sometimes. So I like the regimen in this that Derek provides in that. I think it works really, really well.
that's terrific. Now, yeah, Derek Natcher is your coach. Now, how long have you been working with him?
So we've been working together about 2.5 years. And he's honestly the best coach I've ever had. He's probably my 12th coach at this point. I've been through it all. I've been, ghosted. I've had people just give me the absolute worst advice. I've had some advice that took me like a year or two to come back from because they, messed up my system so bad. So he's one that is just incredibly health conscious. I refer so many people to him. He is so incredibly smart and just make sure that he knows what he's talking about. And he's, even if I send my check-in, I could send like, I feel like shit, this week sucked, I feel super weak, he'll still send me back like an essay just saying, anything that I could think of. So it's just been a wonderful coaching relationship with Derek, and I highly recommend him to any competitors that are, looking for a new coach.
That's terrific. Yeah, I've talked with several of his clients, and I've gotten some really good feedback, and I know him too. He's just a really terrific guy in general. So yeah, that's great. And I'll include his Instagram down below too for people to track him down. And his group is Team Loud, right?
Yep. So Loud Performance Training is the Instagram for prep, but he also does lifestyle training as well, which I think is just Loud Lifestyle Training. But either way, if you type in Loud, you're going to find him.
Okay, very cool. Now, do you have a posing coach too?
So I've worked with a few people, but I did work with Brooke Walker a little bit up to my last show. I haven't really had anybody that I've worked with consistently. I mostly do my own posing. Derek does give me some feedback in my check-ins. There's also Vlad Popoff, who lives, I think I said his last name right, who lives here in Virginia Beach where I am. So I post with him a few times as well. So I have a couple of people that I'll check in with, but for the most part, I do it myself. Brooke helped a lot with just some little tweaks and things to just help me to really connect things better, and literally just moving like my knee out to the side a little bit, or my hands out a little bit more. So she's been absolutely wonderful with that, and hope to work with her a little bit more up to the Atlanta as well. But yeah, I haven't really, like, Derek's the person that I've worked with the longest out of anybody. So other than that, kind of, I've had some friends like take a look at me and post around with just some acquaintances and stuff. But yeah, I guess Brooke would be the most recent one.
Yeah, Brooke's amazing. I actually saw her in Shreveport, and I didn't get a chance to talk to her, unfortunately. But she's amazing. She's such a sweetie too. She's so nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've known her for years, and I'm just so proud of her, and what she's done with her competitive career, and I think she's just going to keep going up. I hope to see her as Miss Olympia one day, but still getting third in the world the last 2 years is just incredible, and I'm so happy for her.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, she's terrific, and I'm very proud of her too. And yeah, she'll be back at the Olympia this year as well. So yeah, definitely. And you guys both work with Joe Bayer at HD Physiques, right?
Yep, that's how I met her. I think back in, I want to say it was like 2017 was the first time I met Brooke. And yeah, I've been shooting with Joe pretty much as long as I've been spray tanning. I met him very quickly. I think it was the first North Americans that I ever worked. We did a shoot, and now I was actually just chatting with him yesterday. So we try to shoot whenever we can. We live pretty far apart, but hoping to shoot with him again this year, because he's up Joe.
I got to meet him in Shreveport too. He's a really good guy, and he does an excellent job with his photography and videography. So that's really cool. Yeah. Now I was curious, what advice could you give to up and coming bodybuilders who are looking for a good coach?
So the biggest thing, I say to really do your research. You have to look and see what you want to look at the competitors that the coach brings. Sorry. You want to look at the competitors that the coach has brought on stage. Because there's, a lot of people, sometimes you'll find a new coach that, is just learning, and, that's okay to start out. But at least like with me finding Derek, I talked to like Emily, has been working with him for a long time, Emily Schuber. So I reached out to her, several years ago, and being like, what do you think of Derek? I need a good coach. Obviously, you've been with him for a long time. And of course, she did nothing but sing him praises. So she was, a big reason as to why I signed up on with him. But even after, like, when someone actually has a coach, the biggest thing that I recommend to people, because of course in my spray tent all the time, people are like, oh, what would you recommend? You're a pro, blah, blah, blah. And the big thing I say is listen to one person. As soon as you let someone else get into your head and you're questioning your coach, you will fail. I've done it before myself. I've had people like, oh, that's not what you should be doing. Your coach shouldn't do this and that and whatever. I've even had people try to say it with Derek. It's just how it always is. I'm sure Emily gets it. And, we all get it, especially guys will try to be like, well, that's not how you should be doing things. And it's like,
yeah,
no, listen to Derek. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't care what you have to say.
yeah.
Firm and listening to one person, and if it might not go well with that one person, and then after your show you can change gears, but for the most part, as soon as you let another person in your head and you're trying to decide between like two plans, that's when things are just going to go terribly for you.
Sure, I understand. That's really good advice too. Yeah, and it's good to find somebody you can work with. I think that I've heard that a lot from the competitors, you know, that and that's and I've heard that about Derek, that he's really good about listening and looking out for your health and just being really attentive.
Yes, he's definitely the most health conscious coach I've ever had. Like after Pittsburgh, we had a long conversation about how we wanted to go about things for the Atlanta. And I mean, we just, you know, he covers all the bases with everything. And, you know, we were in total agreement and kind of switched gears a bit. And I mean, I'm just so thankful for him. He's really an amazing guy.
That's terrific. That's great. Yeah. Now, my questions are old. I was asking about Pittsburgh Pro, but now I need to ask you, how are you feeling about Atlanta, which is coming up, what, 5 weeks, 6 weeks?
Over 5. Yeah, this Saturday will be 5 weeks. I'm definitely feeling good. I did feel really good about my package at Pittsburgh, what I brought. I still need more muscle. You know, these girls are no joke. So that's what we were trying to put on. I mean, you know, you can't put too much size in between that time. So we're trying to just bring a little fullness back into my physique. Some, you know, we're pushing the carbs a bit and just pushing things a bit to try to come in a little bit fuller. And then I think probably in the next week or two, we'll really start to cut back down and try to bring a little bit better conditioning with hopefully a little bit more fullness to the stage, to just kind of see what we can do. You know, I know I'm in the like middle lesser side of the pros at this point, which is totally fine because you know how competitive it gets at the pro level.
Yeah,
So, you know, realistic in that, but just wanted to see what we could do with the extra. I want to say it was 9 weeks in between both shows. So after the Atlanta, I'll be shutting it down for the year, and then we'll be going super hard into off season after, you know, a little relaxed phase. But then, you know, really trying to put on size to be a much more competitive pro next year.
that's terrific. That's really cool. Yeah, I think you placed 14th, I think, at Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Were you kind of bummed, or were you expecting higher?
I mean, not much higher. I was really hoping for top 10. One of the judges actually did kind of tell my coach, like, oh, she probably could have been ninth, but you know, we weren't really looking or something like that. Or they were like, you know, we were too busy like moving other people around. Like
Yeah,
I kind of got looked over, which, you know, that happens sometimes. Again, I'm still very happy with what I brought.
yeah,
So placing is just placing. And, you know, I was bummed out for a little bit, but it's totally okay. That's also one of the most competitive shows all year in the country. So, you know, I
yeah,
expected anything super, you know, honestly, I didn't expect to be anywhere close to winning at all.
yeah,
So,
sure. Yeah, you look great
so
there. And
thank you.
yeah, I was
And
kind of and I mean you had Ms. Olympia there, and Natalia was there. So I mean that's tough competition, and Emily too. And Emily looked really great. So
uh, between those two, I knew I wasn't getting anywhere. You know, I'm still small for the pro physique side, and you know,
yeah,
I'm realistic about that. And but I'm willing to put the time in. You know, for you know, I've already been doing it for 10 years, and probably gonna be doing it at least another 10 years. You know, I'm not planning on stopping. I will keep going until I am ready for the Olympia stage, and you know, nothing could take me away from that.
that's awesome. That's terrific. That's a good attitude too, I think. Yeah, I like that. Um, Now I was curious in terms of, have you had a chance to talk with the judges, especially like last year? I mean, the last show with about where to improve your physique?
Honestly, I don't usually reach out to them because I honestly already know. You know,
Mhm.
my arms are pretty much there, but my legs need to come up a lot. My back needs to come up a lot, just overall muscle. I'm usually one that's like I have a hard time getting that like I don't get conditioned like Emily, just that ridiculous graininess. My
Mhm.
body isn't quite there yet. I don't quite have that maturity. So
Mhm.
we know what I need to improve on. Derek did talk to the judges for me, so you know he's reached out to them to kind of you know be able to guide me a bit better. But pretty much they said you know she just needs more muscle. She needs to be bigger to compete with these girls and to stand out. But
Sure.
they love the shape, you know, they love the look that I bring. You know, I bring like with the blue hair and everything. I bring a little bit different aspect of the side to women's physique. So
Yeah.
once I you know put that little bit of size on, I think they'll pay more attention to me. So.
That's great. Yeah, you're just really beautiful on stage, and yeah, very graceful. So you look, yeah, you look really good.
Appreciate
Um, you're welcome. Now, I was curious, like, do you had find it hard to deal with like the female bodybuilding fans? Because I know some of them can be a little overbearing, or do you have to deal with them with the DMs a lot and that sort of thing?
I don't get, I really don't get too many that are that bad. Sometimes people want to go over the line, but I'm very firm about my boundaries and I'm not afraid to tell people to, cut it out or to block people if I have to, which
Yeah,
does times. I try to be friendly with everybody because, it is a sport and, it's weird to think, I'm a professional athlete, but, so I try to be friendly with, fans and people that do reach out to me. And for the most part, people are very nice and they just want to say nice and positive things and wish me luck. So I'd say that's about like 95% of the outreach that I get. Every now and then I'll get some mean comment, but I'll say I'm pretty fortunate in the way that I do still maintain my femininity pretty well, so I don't really get too many of the like manly comments or anything like that. So
that's true.
it's more just people like pushing the boundaries that I kind of have to push back and you
Hmm.
know or just ignore people or block them. But for the most part, yeah, I really don't have too much to deal with negative wise.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah, the trolls can be so mean and just so, I think, really discouraging sometimes, but yeah, but it is, yeah, the block button is good. I like how you can do block and then block all their associated, pages too. So that's a nice new feature on Instagram.
Yeah, I've had to do that a couple times, but again, I'm thankful that yeah, people are usually just pretty chill and not too weird. Talk
That's
to
really cool. That's great.
me.
Um, we're running a little short on time, only about 4 minutes, so I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. I was curious, what if you were in a leadership position in IFBB or NPC, what would you do to improve the sport of bodybuilding, and how would you try to make the sport better?
I mean, I would love to have more women's physique shows, but given that, I have been in spray tanning, I do know all of, the background of the sport and kind of how things happen. So it is, I would love for, of course, more money to come back to the athletes.
Hmm.
But there's a lot that goes into a show. And attendance of shows has kind of been going down the last couple of years, which is sad.
It
But
is.
as an athlete, taking myself out of being, the backstage person, just more money back would be amazing. We put everything into this. I put literally my entire life savings into this sport and everything that I have into it to, not get really anything back. Like only I think what Pittsburgh for the winner was like 2 grand. Like it's just, you know,
Hmm.
many years ago they used to be able to survive off of that. And now, and if you're lucky enough to get with a supplement company or a clothing company, it's like you kind of, I mean, I have people that drop out all the time because they're like, it's just not worth it, and which doesn't make sense to me because I love it. I'm going to do it whether I make money or not. But it
Sure.
it does lead people into doing the more like the dark side of the sport, which I don't entertain at all. But it's
Hmm.
see why people do it. So that
Sure.
would be nice to give more back to the athletes.
Yeah, I totally understand that. And it is, it's not even like revenue neutral. It's like money going out, and it's a lot of money going out. So I think it's tough to do when you factor in travel and your suit and tan and makeup and everything. So you have to be really dedicated, I think, to continue doing it. And but
Oh yeah.
there's not many pros that have in sports that are losing money, I think, to pursue their dream,
Only pro athletes in the United States that don't get paid.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah. So that does, yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, but it does show your dedication to stick with it and shows your love for the sport. So that's really cool. Yeah. Um, I was just curious, we talked about your being hippie, but that your handle HippieMuscles, but how did you get that or how did you pick that?
It was, when I made my Instagram like 10 years ago, I grew up like my mom always called me a hippie growing up, and I just kind of came up with it one day and made it as my Instagram, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, I love that. That's amazing for you." And now I just used to change it because even like when I'm spray tanning, people don't know my first name, but they're like, "Hey, you're Hippie Muscles." Like everybody knows me as, so it'll be that forever.
That's awesome. It stands out. I like it. It definitely helps you. It's almost like a marketing thing. It helps you stand out.
That's my brand, and that's what I love about it. So I'll keep that going forever.
That's great. I love that. Now we're almost out of time, so I got to ask you to do a quick flex for me, but talk real quick so the camera will be back to you.
All right, we got the flex. That good? Did it get on me?
Yeah, I got you. Thank you so much. That was awesome. And it was really a pleasure speaking with you. I'm gonna include your Instagram and your coaches down below too. And I'll get this posted relatively soon. But thank you so much, Sarena. It really is a pleasure speaking with you.
Awesome. Yes, thanks for having me.
Thank you, and good luck in Atlanta. I'll be rooting for you from afar.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
You as well.